She stood up in the middle of a bar full of our friends and told everyone she was having an affair, after which my best friend raised a glass to celebrate. That night, Lauren wore my old hoodie, the one she always took, saying, "It's warm, like you." She smiled, the kind I used to think was soft. Turns out, it was just her face before stabbing someone clean. We were at our usual bar, dim lights, scattered laughter. Lauren stood up, looked straight at me, and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "I cheated, because I needed a real man, not some guy fixing computers all day and tinkering with a dead car every weekend." No one flinched. Ben, my best friend, raised his glass to her, savage, but honest. Rachel muttered, "We all saw this coming." They laughed. I didn't. I caught my keyring mid-air, smiled, and walked out. The door shut behind me. Their laughter got louder. The next morning, 32 missed calls. If you've ever been betrayed, ever walked away in silence, stay. This story is for you. I met Lauren at a coffee shop near my old campus. She was sitting alone, reading the bell jar with a chipped silver ring on her thumb, right in the middle of blenders whirring and cheap pastry smells. I asked, "Is that one any good?" She looked up, dark nails, tired eyes, and said, "Only depressed people read this in public." Then she smiled, and just like that, we started. Fast, unfiltered, late-night drives, stupid inside jokes, falling asleep with her head on my chest like it was the safest place on earth. She used to tell me, "You're my peace." And I believed her, because for a while I think it was true. But peace doesn't satisfy everyone, not forever. Some people look at calm and feel trapped, and somewhere along the way, I stopped being her sanctuary and started becoming her anchor. The shift was slow, not loud, not obvious. It didn't come with yelling. It came with silence. Girls' nights turned into, "Don't wait up." She stopped texting when she got home, stopped sitting with me in the garage. That Civic I'd been fixing up started gathering dust. The passenger seat stayed empty. She used to hand me tools, sing along to old playlists. Now she rolled her eyes when I talked about starting my own IT consulting business. "You're always chasing things that take too long," she said once, like patience was something to be ashamed of. I didn't argue. I told myself she was tired, burnt out, that she just needed space. But some part of me already knew the truth, not because she pulled away, but because I was the only one still reaching. And when one person stops trying, love doesn't end with a bang. It fades, quietly, and then all at once. It was a Friday night, same bar, same booth, the kind of place where birthdays and breakups blur into background noise. There were 6 of us, half drunk, mid-laugh. Then she cleared her throat, loud, like she was about to make a toast. "I guess this is as good a time as any." Silence. Everyone turned to her. So did I. She looked me straight in the eye, smirked. I cheated. The word didn't even sting. It just landed, like something I'd already known but hadn't wanted to face. And then came the second knife. I needed a real man, not someone in tech support spending weekends fixing a car that doesn't even run. They laughed. Ben clinked his glass with hers. Rachel said, "We saw this coming." I just stared. At all of them. At her. And in that moment, I didn't lose a girlfriend. I lost the room. Ben, the guy who once called me brother. He toasted her betrayal. Said, "Damn girl. Savage. But honest." Rachel mumbled something like, "We all saw this calm, even Chris, the guy who used to sleep on my couch, just gave me that look. The kind that says, take the L and leave." So I did. I didn't yell. Didn't throw my drink. Didn't demand answers. That would have been the reaction she wanted. Drama, chaos, noise. But I wasn't going to give her that. I looked at her. Really looked. Behind that smirk wasn't pride. It was desperation. A need to seem like she'd won. Like all this meant something. And in that one glance, I saw it. The emptiness. The craving for validation. The fear that without this show, she was nothing. I smiled. Tossed my keyring into the air. Caught it. Cool. Then I walked out. No rage. No scene. Just silence. But behind me, they laughed louder. They didn't know they'd just lit the fuse. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of heartbreak, because of clarity. I lay there, eyes wide open, watching shadows crawl across my ceiling like memories refusing to leave. No calls, no texts, not even a lie to soften the blow. Just one group message from Chris. Hope there's no hard feelings, man. Let's all try to be mature about this. Mature? Like laughing while my girlfriend publicly detonated our relationship? I turned my phone off, deleted the thread, blocked the numbers, erased the photos, but not the memory. Not yet. I stared at the mirror, not to cry, not to feel sorry for myself, just to take inventory. Who was I now? A punchline? An afterthought? No. If they saw me as disposable, then I had to build someone they'd never be able to ignore again. Not for revenge, not to prove them wrong, but because I finally saw what they never did. The next morning came too early and too bright. I hadn't slept, just waited for the sun like it owed me something. I opened the window. Cold air, quiet street, a world that didn't know I had just been left behind, but I was done sitting in it. I pulled out my old sneakers, the pair still dusty from a hike I never finished, laced them up, no plan, just a need to move. I ran until my legs gave out, then I walked, then I ran again. Came home, sat at the desk I hadn't touched in months, and opened my laptop. I searched my inbox for one name, Professor Alden. He once told me, "You've got CEO energy, you just don't know it yet." I never believed him, until now. I wrote him an email, short, direct. I want to start over. Where do I begin? I wasn't chasing closure anymore. I was chasing fire, and I'd burn quietly. I didn't make a plan. I made a promise. To myself, to the man I used to be, and to the one I was about to become. Day one started at 5 a.m. No alarm, just grit. I ran again, longer this time. No music, no tracking, just pain. Breakfast was eggs, no sauces, no sugar, no comfort. I took night classes in cybersecurity, freelanced during the day, fixed routers, cleaned up malware, charged less than I should have, because right now I needed the reps, not the money. My fingers hurt from typing. My brain throbbed from learning. My legs ached from running. I didn't care. Discipline started where motivation died. There were no posts, no stories, no grind quotes, just sweat, silence, and the faint sound of an old version of me getting buried one task at a time. This wasn't a glow-up. This was a reconstruction. Week 2, no breaks, no parties, no distractions, just work. I said yes to everything. Fixing point-of-sale systems for diners, installing Wi-Fi in mom-and-pop shops, cleaning malware from laptops that should have been recycled. I charged what they could pay, did more than I needed, because reputation mattered now, not applause, and it started to pay off. A client told her cousin, who told his manager, who emailed me directly. Subject line, "Are you taking new clients?" I stared at it for a full minute, not because I was surprised, but because I realized this was working. The plan was ugly, lonely, exhausting, but it was working. One small contract became a retainer. One retainer turned into recurring monthly income. Still no posts, still no calls, still no Lauren. Let them think I disappeared, because when I show back up, it won't be for them to notice. It'll be too late to matter. Nobody knew where I went. Not Ben, not Rachel, not even Lauren. Especially not Lauren. I moved in silence. Set up a clean, quiet website. Registered an LLC. Got a cheap office space in a strip mall no one cared about. I wasn't interested in being seen. I was interested in being ready. Work bled into weekends. Weekends into early mornings. My laptop never closed. My phone never rang. And I loved it that way. Clients paid on time. Referrals trickled in. I printed my first batch of business cards. Simple, matte black, no fluff. Michael Reeves, Network Consulting and Security. No tagline, no smiley photo, just clarity. I still hadn't posted a single thing online. No status updates. No watch me rise speeches. Just invoices. Just momentum. They didn't notice I was gone. And that was perfect. Because I wasn't building this for attention. I was building it for freedom. While I worked, they posted. Lauren especially. Soft-lit selfies. Her wearing that same hoodie, mine, now draped around Caleb's shoulders. Captions like, "Love always wins. Finally with someone who gets me." Cute. He had abs, tattoos, a half smile that said nothing but somehow still got likes. They looked happy, perfectly lit, perfectly filtered. But here's the thing. You can't post your way into peace. You can't filter regret forever. I didn't react, didn't mute her, didn't block her. Just watched. Not for her. For me. To remember. To stay hungry. To keep moving. because while they smiled for strangers, I was becoming someone they wouldn't recognize even if they wanted to. I didn't want her back. I didn't want revenge. I wanted distance, measured in progress. Month 2, no texts, no calls, no traces of the man I used to be. Just calendars, routines, silence, and I loved every second of it. I woke up before sunrise, ran before the world opened its eyes, worked until my back ached and my inbox filled with names I used to chase. Dinner was quiet. One plate, no music. Just the hum of my fridge and the sound of something inside me sharpening. I didn't go out, didn't scroll, didn't care who was watching because I wasn't performing. I was preparing. Every dollar I earned went back into the business. New tools, better hosting, more certifications. There were nights I wanted to quit, nights the silence got too loud. But then I'd remember her laugh, the bar, the moment, and I'd get back up. Transformation isn't loud. It's made in lonely kitchens, in cheap shoes, and in the quiet spaces no one claps for. I still hadn't posted a thing. Not a photo, not a status, not even a quote. But somehow my name started showing up, in tagged photos, at networking events, in quiet corners of conversations I didn't ask to be part of. A new client shook my hand and said, "I heard about you from 3 different people. You're the guy who solves problems fast, right?" I nodded. No pitch, no brag. Just, that's the goal. It spread. Quietly. Effortlessly. People started noticing not because I shouted, but because I delivered. I wasn't chasing visibility. I was chasing value. And the world has a funny way of rewarding people who don't beg for attention. Even Lauren's friends. Some still followed the people tagging me. They saw the posts, the glow-up, the shift. And slowly my silence got loud. I never needed to show off. I just needed to become undeniable. Then it started. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The first message was from Rachel. "Hey stranger, you look good. Hope you're doing okay." Short, sweet, like she hadn't clapped when Lauren torched me in front of everyone. Then Ben. "Man, heard you started your own thing. That's wild. Respect." Ben, who toasted my humiliation. And then Chris, the peacemaker. "Dude, your name came up in a client meeting. LOL. You killing it." I read them all. Didn't reply. Didn't block. Just let the silence stretch. Because this time, I held the space. I set the terms. They weren't reaching out because they missed me. They were reaching out because they missed proximity to someone rising. They made me the outsider. Now they wanted back in. But I wasn't opening that door anymore. Lauren's posts slowed down, then stopped completely. 2 months clean. No captions. No Caleb. Then one night, a blurry story popped up. A birthday party from a mutual friend. She was in the background, alone, hair tied back, face tired in low lighting, sitting at the edge of a room that used to orbit around her. No drink in hand, no eyes on her, no real man beside her, just there. I didn't feel smug, didn't screenshot, didn't send it to anyone. I just watched and felt nothing. Not pity, not pride, just done. Because the girl who once set the room on fire now sat in its shadow, and the man she humiliated, the one she left behind, was no longer behind at all. By the time they realize what they let go, you're already out of reach. It happened on a Sunday. Gray sky, coffee brewing. My apartment smelled like clarity. I was reviewing a pitch deck for a meeting I actually looked forward to. Then, buzz, one call, then another. Then 32 missed calls in less than 2 hours. Lauren, Ben, Rachel, all of them. Like smoke from a house fire no one wanted to admit was burning. First, the texts. "Lauren, I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but please, can we talk?" Then, "Everything fell apart. I just need 5 minutes. Please." Ben chimed in. "She told us things, man. Said you weren't treating her right. We didn't know. We were wrong." Rachel, "She's crying on my couch. She says you won't respond. Are you okay?" I was fine. She wasn't. They mistook my silence for weakness. Now it's the only sound they can't ignore. Her final message came at midnight. "Lauren, I thought I wanted someone exciting. What I got was someone fake. Caleb cheated. He's broke. I'm broke. I miss you. God, I miss you." Then, "You didn't deserve what I did. I see that now. You were the best thing in my life. Please, just respond." I stared at the screen, watched the typing bubble appear, then disappear, then appear again. like regret trying to form itself but choking on its own weight. I didn't answer. Not out of anger. Not out of pride. I just didn't owe her anything anymore. Because the part that hit me most wasn't the begging. It wasn't even the pain. It was the sentence, "I miss who I was with you." That was it. She didn't lose me. She lost the version of herself that only existed because I believed in her. And that version was never coming back. I typed slowly. No rage, no edits, no overthinking, just truth. You didn't just choose someone else. You celebrated humiliating me. You made it a show, in front of people I once called friends. When I walked out that night, I didn't just leave a relationship. I left the version of myself who thought I wasn't enough. I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. I'm just done. Take care of yourself. Send. I locked the screen. Sat still for a minute, felt nothing. Not relief, not victory, just clarity. No more explaining, no more wondering, no more checking if she read it, because the best kind of closure isn't given. It's chosen. I didn't wait for a reply. I didn't reread what I sent. I didn't care if she was still typing. I opened her contact, scrolled down, pressed block, confirmed, done, then Ben, then Rachel, then Chris. One by one, click, click, click. I stood up, poured myself a glass of water. No whiskey, no music. Just the hum of the fridge and the sound of peace finally entering the room. The night felt lighter. Not because anything had changed out there, but because everything had changed in here. I turned off the light, pulled the blanket up, laid back, closed my eyes. No racing thoughts, no looping memories, no imaginary arguments, and for the first time in what felt like forever, I slept. The next morning, I didn't check my phone. I brewed coffee, opened my laptop, checked invoices, reviewed the week's bookings, 3 new clients, 2 referrals, 1 quiet smile. I didn't post, didn't text anyone, didn't even mention the night before, because when you finally let go, you don't need to announce it. You just live. Breakfast tasted better. The air felt cleaner. Even the light through the window looked less like glare and more like grace. I got dressed, not to impress, but because I finally respected the man in the mirror. Dark jeans, pressed shirt, no logos, just clarity. I wasn't chasing Lauren. I wasn't proving anything to Ben or Rachel. I was chasing a version of myself I hadn't met yet, but knew I'd recognize when I got there. Revenge isn't fire. Sometimes it's just never needing to look back again. My calendar was full. Morning calls, afternoon consultations, evening updates. I barely looked up between projects, but I wasn't burned out. I was fueled. Every problem I solved put another stone beneath my feet. A quiet staircase built from work no one saw. At night, I'd sit under the glow of my monitor, reading emails that used to feel out of reach. Now, they came to me. Partnership proposals, speaking invites. Are you available for a retainer? I still hadn't posted, still hadn't said a word to the people who once cheered my downfall, because I didn't need to tell them anything. The results were saying it for me. I caught my reflection in the window of my office, a place I built from rock bottom up. Same eyes, new fire. This wasn't a comeback, this was an arrival. I dropped 18 pounds, not in a rush, not for aesthetics, for control. Woke up before the sun, lifted heavy, ran longer, ate clean, no cheat days, no excuses, meal prep, hydration, stretch, repeat. My skin cleared, my posture changed, my breath got steadier, so did my mind. I bought new clothes, not expensive, just intentional. Everything fit, nothing screamed, it just matched who I had become. No one commented. No, wow, you look different. They hadn't seen me. That was the point. Because confidence isn't built in the mirror. It's built in silence, under iron, behind locked doors, in weeks when no one checks in, and you keep going anyway. I didn't dress better for them. I dressed better because I finally respected the man I saw, and he deserved it. It happened on a random Tuesday. No milestone, no celebration, just an errand run and cold wind. I walked past a storefront downtown, big glass window, bright lights inside. I glanced sideways and stopped. There I was, trimmed beard, sharp jawline, shirt tucked, eyes steady, no bags, no weight. For a second I didn't recognize the man staring back. Then I did, and I smiled. Not because I looked good, but because I looked whole. That man in the reflection, he wouldn't have begged. He wouldn't have stayed where love had to be earned through sacrifice and silence. He would have walked out of that bar without looking back. This version of me wouldn't tolerate what the old me thought he had to survive. I still hadn't shared anything. Not a selfie, not a quote, not even a humble brag. But people started posting me at client launches, at networking events, charity runs, round tables, a smile here, a handshake there, a quiet presence that somehow filled the frame. And slowly, without meaning to, I started popping up in stories that weren't mine. And some of Lauren's friends, the ones who still followed those people, they saw it. I knew they did. I checked the views. One familiar name would always be there. She never liked, never commented, but she watched. And that's all it took, because I wasn't in hiding. I was just higher. Sometimes you don't need to say, I made it. You just need to let them see. You're somewhere they can't reach. I never replied. To Rachel, to Ben, to any of them. Not once. But the messages didn't stop. They multiplied, as if the lack of response was louder than any insult I could have thrown back. Rachel, just wondering if you're okay. She's not. She talks about you constantly. Ben, we were wrong, man. All of us. We didn't know what she did to you. You didn't deserve that. Then Lauren again, in longer, messier bursts. I miss you. I miss who I was with you. I hate that I destroyed that. And finally, you're not even angry, are you? You're just gone. Exactly. I wasn't angry. I wasn't pretending. I wasn't waiting. I was gone. They thought silence meant weakness. Now it's the very thing that keeps them up at night. Then came the silence on her end. Her posts, gone. No Caleb, no love quotes, no half smiles in filtered sunlight. Her profile sat still for weeks. Then finally, a single blurry story from some mutual friend's birthday. Lauren, alone at the edge of the frame. Hair tied up, eyes down, no glow, just absence. Caleb was gone. She didn't say it, but everything said it for her. No more real man in the caption, no hand on her waist, no curated version of victory. And I felt nothing. No smugness, no gloating, not even relief. Just a quiet, unshakable distance. I wasn't angry at her. I wasn't waiting for karma. I wasn't hoping she'd fall. She just did. And I happened to be far enough not to hear the crash. She chose someone else. But she lost herself in the process. And by the time she looked back, I wasn't there to see it. The messages kept coming. From Lauren. Longer now. More desperate. More real. You probably hate me. I understand if you never want to see me again. But please, say something. I miss who we were. I miss who I was with you. I read them. Not instantly. Sometimes hours later. Sometimes days. Each one slower. Sadder. Like a voice echoing into a canyon that no longer responded. And still, I said nothing. Not because I was punishing her. Not because I wanted her to suffer. But because I had already spoken. I had said everything I ever needed to say. And silence wasn't a weapon. It was my boundary. Sometimes closure isn't found in words. It's found in the quiet you refuse to let anyone else disturb. I never replied. But that didn't stop them from typing. Every few days, another paragraph, another confession, another fragment of who they used to be. Lauren's messages turned into journals. Letters she never knew how to send when it would have mattered. I don't recognize myself anymore. You made me feel safe. I miss feeling safe. You were the best thing in my life, and I threw it away. The irony? They used to call me quiet. Now it was my silence that filled every corner of their thoughts. They used to laugh when I walked away. Now they begged for one word, one look, one reply, and I gave them nothing. Not out of cruelty, but because I had finally found peace in my absence. You don't need to scream to echo. You just have to leave, and mean it. The last message came at midnight. Lauren. I thought I wanted someone exciting. What I got was someone fake. Caleb left. He cheated. He's broke. I'm broke. I miss you. I miss us. I miss me, when you still believed in me. You didn't deserve what I did. I see that now. You were the best thing in my life. Please, just respond. No anger, no performance, just unraveling. I stared at the screen, watched the typing bubble appear, disappear, appear again, then nothing. And in that quiet moment, I realized something simple. She wasn't talking to me anymore. She was talking to the echo of a man who no longer existed. She didn't miss me. She missed the version of herself that only lived in the space where I used to hold her together. I didn't flinch. I didn't pace. I didn't write a long reply, then delete it. I just sat there, phone in my hand, reading the last words of a chapter I had already closed. No soundtrack, no dramatic moment, just the steady hum of a life that had moved on. She wanted redemption. She wanted a second chance to rewrite what she burned. But this wasn't a pause. It was an ending she hadn't accepted yet, and I wasn't holding the pen anymore. I didn't text back, didn't explain, didn't justify. I just set the phone down, face down, and breathed. Deep, clear, free. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is absolutely nothing. The morning after, I didn't even check my phone. I brewed my coffee, answered emails, stepped into a new client meeting with a calm they would never get to witness. They were still spinning in circles they created, chasing closure from someone who'd already left the building. I wasn't angry. I wasn't superior. I was simply somewhere else. My world no longer included apologies that came too late, or people who only remembered my worth after forgetting it loudly. The version of me who once waited for their understanding, he didn't live here anymore. I didn't ghost them. I didn't punish them. I just outgrew the version of myself that needed them to be sorry. Forgiveness isn't always about setting them free. Sometimes, it's about freeing yourself from waiting for anything more. While they scrolled through old messages looking for a version of me that no longer existed, I was on a Zoom call securing a new contract, discussing growth projections, expanding my reach, same name, different life. They replayed the night at the bar in their heads, what they laughed at, what they didn't say, what they now wish they could take back. But some things can't be unsaid, and some bridges, they don't burn, they vanish. By the time they understood what loyalty looked like, what stillness meant, what a man like me was worth, I had already built a life where their opinions held no currency. No hate, no revenge, just evolution they weren't invited to witness. Sometimes the lesson hits after the bell rings. But class is already over, and I've already graduated. They didn't let me go because I was weak. They let me go because they thought I'd stay. They mistook patience for passivity, kindness for need, silence for surrender. But silence is where real men build. And I had built something they couldn't tear down. The truth is, I was never not enough. I was just more than they were ready to recognize. When they laughed, I listened. When they turned, I walked. When they doubted, I doubled down. Now, their phones buzz with reminders of who I became. Mine, silent, peaceful, focused. I don't live in their story anymore. I live in the one I wrote myself, page by page in private, until I no longer needed their approval to feel like a man. I wasn't left behind. I moved forward, and they stopped walking. People say I changed, that I transformed, that I glowed up. They're wrong. I didn't become someone else. I just became who I was when no one was telling me I wasn't enough. No more shrinking myself to keep them comfortable. No more lowering my volume so they could feel louder. No more dimming my ambition to match their lack of vision. I didn't level up out of spite. I grew because staying small was killing me quietly. And now I don't need applause, don't need validation, don't even need closure. I needed breath, space, truth. And I gave those things to myself when no one else could. I don't miss them, not because I hate them, but because the version of me they knew no longer exists. I didn't rise to prove them wrong. I rose because I finally stopped waiting for them to see me at all. People ask if I ever wanted to get back at them, to post the wins, to flaunt the success, to make them feel what I felt. No, that was never the goal. Because once you truly heal, you realize revenge is just another way of staying tied to something that already drowned you. I didn't want to be in their heads. I didn't want them to hurt. I wanted out of the loop, out of the memory, out of the version of myself that needed to be seen to feel real. Now, my peace isn't performative. It's quiet, private, deliberate. It's a late-night walk with no phone, a smile I don't post, a win I don't announce. It's knowing they still think of me, and I don't think of them at all. You know you've healed when your silence isn't a weapon. It's just peace. They think I lost something, a relationship, a friend group, a chapter that could have been different. But I didn't lose. I released. I walked away from noise and found clarity. I let go of people who needed me silent to feel secure. And in that letting go, I gained the one thing they could never give me, myself. Now, I don't rewind. Don't reread the texts. Don't imagine alternate endings. I don't need to. Because the ending I got gave me a beginning I wouldn't trade for anything. There's no bitterness left. No fire. No ache. Just a window open to the morning. And a version of me who knows exactly why he had to let it all burn. Sometimes the worst thing they do to you is the best thing that ever happened to you. There was a time I wanted them to get it. To feel what I felt. To admit they were wrong. But not anymore. Understanding is a currency I no longer trade in. Because peace doesn't ask to be seen. It just exists. Now I drink my coffee without checking notifications. I work, I move, I breathe, without needing anyone to notice. No passive-aggressive posts, no vague quotes, no curated silence meant to provoke. Just silence. Real, still, earned silence. They may still wonder what I think, what I feel, if I ever cared, and I hope they never find out. Because the life I live now doesn't have room for explanations to the past. Peace isn't loud. It doesn't shout back. It simply no longer replies. There was no trigger, no anniversary, no flashback. Just a quiet night, cool sheets, no messages, no ghosts. I lay down without rehearsing old conversations. No what-ifs, no imaginary comebacks, no ache behind my ribs, just the soft hum of the fan, the dark doing what it's supposed to, hold me, not haunt me. I didn't scroll, didn't check if she posted, didn't wonder who was thinking of me, because none of it mattered. My head hit the pillow, and nothing followed me into the dark. No bitterness, no noise, no memory sharp enough to cut sleep short. And in that silence, somewhere between breath and breath, I realized, this is peace. Revenge doesn't always come with fire. Sometimes it comes with finally sleeping through the night. They were waiting for something. A message. A reaction. A sign that I still cared, even a little. But I gave them nothing. No paragraph. No parting quote. Not even a vague status to dissect. I deleted no one out of anger. I erased them because their place in my life had expired quietly. No announcement. No flame. Just space. Space where they used to be. Where noise used to live. Where I used to question my own worth just to keep the peace. Now, no texts to check. No birthdays to remember. No old photos to revisit. I don't hate them. I don't miss them. I simply don't carry them with me anymore. The loudest goodbye is the one you don't say. It's the silence that stays after you're already gone. They thought I walked away quietly. What I really did was walk towards something louder than any apology they never gave. A life. A version of myself they don't deserve to know. I didn't rebuild out of rage. I rebuilt because I finally saw what they refused to see. Me. Not broken, not bitter, not waiting. Just whole. Clear, unshakably myself. And if you're here, if this story stirred something in you, it's not just a coincidence. Maybe you're carrying a version of yourself someone else didn't value. Maybe you're still waiting for closure that won't come. Let me say this, you don't need their permission to heal. You don't need their apology to grow. You just need a quiet moment, a deep breath, and the courage to never look back. If this made you feel seen, drop a E in the comments. Let the past know. It no longer has the key. Subscribe. Because around here, every silence hides an ending, and every ending births a better beginning.